Adventuring days are gone from Dungeons & Dragons, at least in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide.
Hey, get out of here!
Now, in case you missed our review last week, be sure to check out that video. We now have our hands on the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, and we can talk about some of the big changes in the new rulebook. Now, one of the biggest changes to 5th edition as a whole is how the DMG addresses encounters, namely how to build them and how many players should face in a given day. Now, we'll dive into why this is a big deal in a minute, but before we do, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons to support our new independent tabletop and fantasy-focused YouTube channel. Now, the new Dungeon Master's Guide contains a streamlined guide to combat encounter planning, with a simplified set of instructions on how to build an appropriate encounter for any set of characters. Now, if you read the 2014 DMG, you know that encounter building involved a bit too much math for a lot of players' likings. There were multipliers based on the number of monsters, and there were multiple XP budgets per party level based on 4 degrees of difficulty, and there was a second pool of XP that consisted of the adventuring day. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, the new rules are pretty basic. The DM determines an XP budget based on the difficulty level they're aiming for, with only 3 choices now.
And there is a single table that you look on, and you just cross-reference the party's level with the encounter difficulty, low, moderate, high.
Which is a change from the 4 found in the 2014 DMG, and the level of characters in a party. They then spend that budget on creatures to actually craft the encounter. Now, there are no more multipliers based on the number of monsters, although there are still some recommendations about potential complications and how not to overwhelm low-level parties. Basically, there are a lot of common sense rulings here. Don't throw out a lot of monsters that can just swarm and attack and hit your level 1 party members. Don't throw monsters that have abilities that can't be countered by any way, or the players can't hit at all because they're literally unable to because they're too low level. Now, what's really interesting here is that the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide and its new encounter building rules contains no mention of the adventuring day, nor is there any recommendation about how many encounters players should have in between long rests. Basically, the 2014 DMG contained a second pool of XP based on each individual adventurer's level that was meant to serve as a guide to how many threats a party should face each day. That second XP pool represented an adventuring day and was typically filled by 6 to 8 medium or hard encounters per long rest. The 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide totally gets rid of this, and instead opts to discuss encounter pace and how to balance player desire to take frequent short rests in order to, refresh resources by ratcheting up tension within the adventure itself. Now, as a DM, it was very difficult to come up with 6 to 8 encounters per day outside of dungeon crawls or raids on enemy strongholds and the like. It also felt like that guideline was really rarely followed, even in official D&D adventures, in part because that many encounters really bogs down the pace of play. If you have 4 players that are above level 5, even a medium encounter can take between 30 to 45 minutes to run through unless you have some really hard rules on decision times and how much time a player can take on their turn. The 2024 encounter building guidelines are not only more streamlined, but they also seem to embrace a more common sense approach to DM prep and planning. Now, of course, this is all speculation about how this will really impact 5th edition, and we won't really get a full idea until we see how monsters have been changed in the new monster manual. Luckily, we should start seeing more info on that early next year when the monster manual comes out in February. So, what do you think about the end of the adventuring day? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.